I love decorative tape, especially washi tape. Washi tape can be easily torn off and it can be used in so many different ways. In this video, I'm going to show you 10 ways to use washi tape. The first idea is helpful if you're hosting a party and all your cups are the same. And in this video, you can do either a really quick marker by just putting tape there so that whoever uses that cup knows the color he or she is using. Or you can go a little bit fancy by creating a design. For the first cup, I create a border on the bottom of the cup. You could leave it as it is, or if you want to actually create a label for the name, then you can cut out a strip of tape and then write the name on it. I decide to grab a solid tape like this blue one right here so I can write on the solid pattern instead of the mermaid pattern. Next up, I create the same base pattern as the first cup, except this time I use a wider tape. If you messed up, you can easily remove the tape and then just go over it again. That's the one thing that I love about washi tape. It's really tolerant of mistakes. So if you make any mistakes, just take it off and do it again. It works on cups as well as paper. Now for this one, I decided to go a little bit fancy by using a knife to cut out multiple triangles. For this one, I almost cut myself a few times, especially since the glass surface is really smooth. Hopefully your glass cups are smooth. Anyways, be careful when you use a knife, whether it's small or not. Once I made the outline of the rectangles, I decided to remove all the triangles that are pointing down, so my final triangle set will all be pointing up. You will need to have a lot of patience with this one, and I really mean it. It took me a long time to finish this design. I felt like I could become a sculptor after this. That's how long it took. Regardless, it was really fun to do. When you're removing the extra triangles, make sure to keep those because you can easily repurpose those. Once I have completed everything on the bottom, I decide to add a label anyways because you could round the triangles, but it's probably better to just have a special name place. Remember the extra triangles I was talking about? This is a perfect place to use it. Just put them right around the corner of the label and it looks prettier. For the last design, I really wanted to make it simple by using two solid stripes of washi tapes. However, the chosen tapes were really hard to cut out. If you see this little one, I do not recommend buying it at all. Check the feedback to make sure the quality is good. The one I have, oh my goodness, I could not cut it out at all. So instead of using two solid colors, I just went with the regular good washi tape. For this one, I'm using two washi tape stripes. I can leave it as it is and it looks like an eco sign. But my inner sculptor was calling me, so I had to make a little cut around the corner so that it kind of looks like a little bow or a little flag. For this one, you have two stripes, so you can either write the name on top or on the bottom. I tend to choose the one that gives more readability compared to the one with more colorful design, so I decided to write the name on the top one. Alright, those are the designs for the first idea. Let's take a moment to look at how adorable they are. Recently, I started using a planner, well, specifically bullet journal, more frequently than before, and that means as a beginner, I tend to make a lot of mistakes. And washi tape is really handy when it comes to correcting your mistakes or making designs. One way to use washi tape is to use them as dividers. On this page, I'm writing down the dates and then I'm using two colors of washi tapes. Especially the glitter ones, I think they make things so much prettier. I just cut a strip of the washi tape or glitter tape in this case and just use them as a divider. Besides using washi tape as a divider, you can also use them as some kind of design. For this one, I just cut a strip of washi tape and use it as a corner design. Remember the triangles we had earlier? I'm using them again here. They look kind of random, but that's what makes them look really cool. As a bullet journal beginner, I tend to make a lot of mistakes. This is where I can use washi tapes to cover up my designs. Most washi tapes tend to be quite thin and kind of see-through, so instead of just laying my washi tape right on top of it, I decided to first block out the words first, then I lay washi tape on top of it. For corrections, I think the bigger washi tapes might be more helpful because they tend to cover more space if you made that much mistakes, just like me. But it's okay, at least it looks better than before, right? Kind of, maybe? I don't know. To be honest, the first one wasn't that bad because for the next page, I want to actually cover out the entire page. It was more like my testing page, and then I decided I want to keep this one more like idea related and then use a different notebook for to-do list. So for this one, you can use any kind of white paper. I decided to go with my slightly higher quality printer paper instead of my regular printer paper because my regular printer paper is see-through and then my watercolor paper is too thick. So I decided to go with my printer paper that is slightly higher quality than the usual ones because it has a really good thickness and also a really good quality. So for this one, since I want to redo the entire page, I decided to cut out the page and use washi tape to decorate the border. By now you might have noticed all the post-its I have in my notebook. Now it doesn't look pretty, but it's practical. But guess what? We are going to use washi tape to replace them. You can use washi tape as a marker by taking up a strip of washi tape and then just tape it around the page. By around the page, I just mean like one end on one side of the page and then the other end on the other side of the page. I'm not quite sure how I should describe this properly. Please look at the video. So this is one way to do it, and then you can just write whatever you want on the washi tape. You want to make sure to use Sharpie or some kind of marker that it's not washable. I tried to use my ink at first and ended up smearing all over the place, and then I had to redo this part. But the good thing is washi tape came off really easily. Don't use this pen. This pen is my favorite pen, but it doesn't work as well when I had to write it on the washi tape. Besides taping washi tape directly onto the page, you can also use paper clips. I had two sizes of paper clips, one big and one small. The small one works well with the small washi tape, and the big one, well, for the bigger one. And it's also really handy to make different kind of labels. For the small one, since it's pretty hard to write words that small, I mean, well, you could if you want. I decided just to make the paper clip prettier by just attaching a stripe on top of it. When you are doing this DIY, make sure that you are taping your washi tape to the correct side. Otherwise, it might not clip well, like the one that you're seeing right now, it actually doesn't clip as well. If you only have small paper clips, you can still make it work by taping the washi tape on the side instead of facing up. If you do decide to use the side method, make sure to give enough space so that you can actually write on it and to have enough space that it actually extends out the notebook. Otherwise, you might not be able to see all the letters you wrote. Besides paper clips, you can also use the same idea on binder clips. With binder clips, you have more space to work with. And for this one, I actually decided to go with a simple design by just putting one golden stripe of washi tape on both sides of this paper clip. For the second one, I just used another design and it actually fits perfectly to the binder clip that I have. And that's all I did for the second design. If you're living in a rented place and you don't want to damage the wall, but you still want to create some kind of vision board or some kind of to-do list board, then using washi tape as a way to hang up your paper is perfect. You can pretty much use washi tape for anything that involves some kind of designing or making it look pretty. Here I'm designing a few bookmarks. The first one I have is I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a panda or a bear. I don't know what I was thinking. Once I have my design ready, I just cut it out, and the paper I use for this bookmark is my watercolor paper. Originally, I was going to go with a more rounded body shape, but since I was going to use it as a bookmark, I decided that a rectangular one makes more sense. I'll be able to put washi tape on it easier. After I finished designing this, I realized that this is not going to stay in place. Instead of redoing it, I decided to cut the rectangle part so that it functions kind of like a paper clip, and that way it can hold on to the page. The book you're seeing here is called Your Best Year Ever by Michael Hyatt. It's a really good book. It's the first book I finished in 2018, and the only reason I was able to finish it was because there was an audio version. Otherwise, I don't think I'll be able to finish any book. Anyways, back to our bookmarks. So this is the first design. I have two more designs I want to show you. For the second design, I decided not to make the same mistake I made earlier. I cut out a stripe of paper and then I fold it in half so that it actually sits on the page. And this time I decided to put washi tape on top of it. I actually don't like this design as much, but I do want to demonstrate this idea, so I decided to keep this in. For this one, I just used different washi tapes to create the design. After I finished the design, I didn't really like the extra washi tape on the hard part, so I decided to use two more stripes and cover those up so that it looks slightly more unified. The last bookmark is probably my favorite because it was really easy to make. For the last one, I just cut out a rectangle and then I cut the four corners so that it looks slightly more fancy. And then I had to use my scissors to punch a hole because I couldn't find my hole puncher. And I didn't really want to spend an hour to look for it because that's what usually happens. Like, I cannot find the things I'm looking for and it will probably take out an hour. So instead of looking for it for an hour, I decided to just use my scissors to cut a hole. But be careful if you're going to use this method. For this one, since I made sure the main body is a rectangle, it was really easy to put on different stripes of washi tape, and the design was simple, easy to make, and turned out looking pretty nice. For this bookmark, you're going to need some kind of twine or strings so that you can hang it through the hole that we have on the bookmark so that we can actually use that to mark our page. Okay, so here we have a little thing. Guess what's in there? Nope, not washi tapes. I actually have a bunch of cables, and they are cables from like all kinds of devices. A lot of times they tend to be the same, like micro cables, I think they are called. But anyways, one way that I organize all my cables is to use sandwich bags. That way my cable stays nice in the bag and I can see it. The only problem is I forgot to label them. So you can use washi tapes to label them. Of course, take out the cable first, otherwise it'll be difficult to write. So you can cut up a stripe of washi tape and then write the name. Another way is to use washi tapes right on the cable. Over here I have my external hard drive. This cable is always with this hard drive, so I can place my washi tape on the cable and I can write the name for that hard drive instead of the cable. And this hard drive I use it for storage, so I just write down max storage for this one. You can also use washi tape to decorate any kind of labels, and for this one, sorry, I forgot to post the film button so you can see the process, but it was fairly easy. All you need to do is put the tapes around the label and that's it. That's all for my 10 ways to use washi tape. I hope it was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Bye! Remember to sign up to Lynn's Tea House newsletter. In my newsletter, I send out almost weekly DIY ideas and fun stuff. Bye!